There's a photograph most families have somewhere. A great-grandfather on a platform. Hut on, case in hand. He stood there every working morning for 30 years. Same train, same seat, same nod to the same strangers whose names he never learned. He would not recognize your Tuesday, not because of what arrived, because of what stopped happening. This is the story of where that train went.
And fair warning, this one isn't about offices. It's about everything the journey was quietly holding up. The cities, the strangers, the love stories. The commute was never just a commute.
Season 3, The New Light. Episode 3, The Commute That Isn't. For about 150 years, the human day had shape. A going and a returning. Morning pulled millions of people out of their doorways like a tide. And every evening, the tide came home. Watch a city breathe. In at 8, out at 6, 2 heartbeats a day, so regular you could set civilization's clock by them. Rivers of headlights, platforms filling and draining. The whole species moving in rhythm.
And between the going and the returning, something subtle. A man who was one person at his kitchen table became another person by the time he reached his desk. The journey was a hallway between selves. 20 minutes to put a face on, 20 minutes to take it off.
The carriage itself was a strange, holy room. The only room where the whole city stood together. The banker's elbow against the bricklayers. Nobody chose this company. That was the point. It was the daily rehearsal of being a public.
Okay, hold on. Before we drown in violins. It was also, by every survey we have, the most hated hour of the human day. Packed trains. Fumes. Years, actual years of a life, spent staring at a stranger's shoulder. Let's not build a cathedral out of a traffic jam.
First, the vanishing. It happened in 2 speeds, slowly, and then in a single spring.
Slowly. The office had been dissolving for decades. 1,900 rooms of clerks copying letters by hand, because information moved at the speed of paper. 1950, typing pools, carbon copies, the tower as a machine for moving memos. 1990, cubicles and cables. The desk became a screen. And somewhere in those years, the quiet threshold. The building stopped holding the work. The work moved into the wires. The commute survived it out of habit.
Then the spring of 2020. The platforms emptied all at once. Every city on Earth, the same week. History's largest accidental experiment. What happens if everyone just stays? And the world did not end. Work went on. That was the sentence that changed everything. Not a technology, a proof. The tide went out, and a lot of it simply never came back in.
Walk a downtown at 7 on a Tuesday evening now. Towers half lit. The sandwich place that fed 1,000 office workers. Gone quiet. The 812 platform. A great-grandfather's cathedral holding 9 people and a draft.
Distance, the enemy we sharpened wheels and rails and jet engines against for 2 centuries, surrendered. Quietly. On a Tuesday.
So we won, right? That's the question this episode actually exists to ask. Because when distance disappeared, it did not disappear alone.
Start with the biggest thing distance built, the city. Cities exist for exactly one reason. Distance used to be expensive. You put the port, the market, the workshop, the court in one place because being far away cost too much. Every skyline on Earth is a receipt. It says, once we paid almost anything to be near each other. Watch an idea move through a city at dusk. One lit window, then the floor, then the block, The district, the skyline, lit like a rumor. That's not a metaphor for how it worked. That's a map of it. Proximity was the network before the network.
Now the tender ledger. Where did people fall in love for 150 years? The platform glance held one day longer than politeness. The office 2 desks over. The friend of a friend at the bar near work. Proximity was the great matchmaker, and the commute was its waiting room.
In the small economy of being known in passing. The coffee cart man who started your order when he saw you at the corner. The kiosk lady who kept your paper. The barber from the last episode. Not friends exactly. Set 1,000 tiny threads a day, and every one of them was strung along a journey.
Weak ties, the sociologists call them. The people you almost know. Turns out they carry most of what moves through a society. The job leads, the news, the sense that the world is wider than your kitchen. Kill the journey, and you don't lose your friends. You lose your almost.
Nobody chose to delete any of this. That's what makes it history's strangest renovation. We removed a wall nobody knew was load-bearing. So what did we actually do to distance? Here's the honest picture. We didn't erase it. We folded the map. Fold a sheet of paper and 2 far corners touch. A village in one country, a bedroom in another, pressed together like pages. That's your video call. But look at the fold itself. Everything that lived along the crease fell inside.
The fold chooses. Information crosses instantly now. Money crosses instantly. A face on a screen crosses instantly. A handshake doesn't. A shoulder to cry on doesn't. The smell of your mother's kitchen doesn't. Distance didn't die, it retired from the things that were easy and doubled its price on the things that matter.
Which brings us to the sentence this whole episode has been walking toward. Distance never kept us apart. Distance was the thing that made together possible.
Because together only meant something when it cost something. Every arrival used to be a small proof. I spent something to stand here. The going made the getting there. We didn't stop traveling to each other. We stopped arriving. If this question stays with you, keep opening the next door.
And now the part the grief always drowns out. The part that's genuinely new light. Because when geography stopped assigning us our people, we started choosing them. Look at the new map. Not streets, threads. A teenager in a small town, 300 miles from anyone who shares her obsession, finds her people in an evening. A scientist in one hemisphere thinks with a scientist in the other daily like neighbors. The lonely kid at the edge of the schoolyard now has an edge of the world instead.
And the people the old geography simply abandoned, the ones the 812 was never built for. The wheelchair the platform ignored. The parent nursing a sick child at home. The talent born 10,000 kilometers from the towers. For them, the death of distance wasn't a loss. It was the first invitation they ever got.
Humanity is running the experiment right now. Tonight, can chosen connection do the work that accidental proximity used to do? Can a thread replace a street? Honestly, nobody knows yet. You are the experiment.
Which is where we split, and this time I'm on offense. You've spent this whole episode in mourning. The rehearsal of being a public, the holy carriage, I heard it. But I keep thinking about the years. The average commuter gave a working decade of their life to that journey. Nobody asked the years back. I won't grieve a cage just because it had a view.
And I won't call a cage when it was also the only room where the whole city practiced standing together, bankers and bricklayers, nobody choosing anybody. Every public we've ever built was rehearsed somewhere inconvenient. Fine, take back the years. I want to know what rehearses us now. We're not settling this one either. For more mornings. It's evening now. Come stand on the platform. The 8:12 platform, 60 years of shoes in its stone. Listen. 9 people. A draft. Somewhere behind us a departure board flips for a train that will run mostly empty. And one man near the edge, hat on, case in hand, who could work from anywhere and chooses every morning to go.
We didn't ask him why. Some questions you leave on the platform.
Tomorrow at 4:57, the kettle starts again in a kitchen that is now also an office, a school, a cinema, a town square. The whole map folded into one warm room. That's not the end of the story. It's the strangest beginning a species ever wrote.
Next time, the care shift. A day inside augmented care. The hospitals, the homes, the machines that monitor, and the hands that still hold. Bring someone you love.
We didn't decide tonight whether the fold was a victory. Honestly, it's both, and it isn't done folding. But we found a question worth carrying. When arriving costs nothing, what will we spend on each other instead?
If this series changes how you see the world, subscribe. Knowledge grows when it is shared. And the question we leave open on the table tonight.
Where do you think humanity actually lives now? Inside cities or inside connections? Be honest in the comments. We read everything. This was the Brand Door.